Hi everyone, this is Hugh from CES 231 and I'm going to show you guys how to install Ruby on Rails on an Ubuntu Linux machine today. For those of you who are not familiar with Ruby on Rails, it's an open source web framework that helps programmers program in an agile environment using the Ruby programming language. So first, what I have already set up is an Ubuntu server that's just vanilla with nothing else installed. And what we'll do is we'll go ahead and remotely access that via SSH. I always like to, on development machines, have root access so that I don't have to worry about typing the sudo command all the time. Of course, on a production server, you definitely don't want to have root access for all of the users. Wrong IP. This is the correct IP. Okay, so with Ruby on Rails, in order to install it, there are some additional dependencies that you need to install first. The first one we'll install is Git. This is a versioning type of software where you can check in and check out of your code to a remote Git server or even a local one. To do that, uh, since I already have root access, I don't have to type sudo. I would just type apt get install git. Okay, so Git is installed. The next dependency that we're going to install is some sort of JavaScript framework or JavaScript runtime. Since this is an Ubuntu server and it's vanilla with nothing else installed, we'll go ahead and use the Node.js JavaScript runtime. To install that, you would just type apt get install Node.js. Alright, the next dependency that we're going to install is curl. Curl is a program that uses Perl to get files from FTP, HTTP, or HTTPS servers. To do that, we'll go ahead and type apt get install curl. Now with these dependencies installed, we're going to go ahead and use curl in order to install what is called Ruby Version Manager, or RVM. And with Ruby Version Manager, it helps ease the process of installing Ruby on Rails. It even helps you install multiple versions of Ruby on one system. Oftentimes, developers using Ruby on Rails would use multiple different versions depending on when their application was created, so that it would be, they will ensure that their system is running with their applications, even though their application was written with an older version of Ruby. So in order to do that with curl, we'll go ahead and type curl-l get.rvm.io vertical pipe bash -s stable. We're going to play it safe and use the stable version. We're not going to get too crazy and too innovative at this moment. So now we have RVM installed. RVM does itself have some additional requirements, and to see what the type of requirements we need, we can just go ahead and type RVM requirements. That way our bash would be updated. So you can type RVM now just to make sure it works. Another way to make sure that RVM is a valid command, you can type RVM vertical pipe head -1. Misspell that. It's supposed to be RVM. And it says RVM is a function. So now that we made sure that RVM is installed, we can go ahead and use RVM to install multiple items such as Ruby and Rails. But let's just see if RVM has any additional requirements for us. Okay, as you can see here, we do have quite a few requirements here. for us before we install Ruby. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and copy this whole section here, and I'll just run that, and that will install all of the packages that are required. So this is going to be 60 megs, so that's going to be a pretty big download. You probably just want to let it run and go grab a cup of coffee or something, because it'll be a while. See you guys in a minute. I have all of the dependencies installed, but there is actually one more since we're running Ubuntu, and that's the zlib package, and we can go ahead and use RVM to install that. RVM package install zlib. It's actually a very small package, so it installs quickly. And finally, now we have all of the dependencies installed, we can now finally install Ruby and then Rails. So to install Ruby, you can go ahead and type RVM install Ruby and then the version number. In this case, we'll use 1.9.2. And this might take a little bit longer, even though it's a small package, because when you're installing Ruby, you're actually installing several other things, including Ruby Gems and Bundle, which are additional utilities that help you generate applications quickly. Alright, so now that we have Ruby 1.9.2 installed, if you took a look at some of the logs while it was installing, you'll notice that it installed a couple things such as YAML, which is a database language, as well as Ruby Gems, which gives us additional functionality in our system. Primarily, it allows us to use the gem command, and that's actually what we're going to use in order to install the Rails framework. So now we're going to go ahead and install the Rails framework by using the gem command. You can type gem install Rails. This process might actually take a while because it's going to fetch the framework and compile it from source. Depending on your computer and how fast your processor is, compiling might take a little while. So you can sit back and relax for a little bit. Rails installed, we can go ahead and create a test application just to make sure that everything is working. And Rails makes it nice and easy to make new applications because it'll create the whole scaffolding or skeleton, basically a whole roadmap of how your application is going to look in terms of file structure, and with one very easy command, and that's Rails new, and then the name of your application. In this case, we'll just call it CAS 231 video tutorial. After it creates the file, it's going to run what is called the bundle install, and the bundle install just makes sure that it uses all of the correct gems for all the things you need, including JavaScript and databases, depending on the information that's specified in the gem file. In this case, we're just using the default. So now we'll go ahead and move into our applications directory, and we'll start up the built-in web server called WebBrick. That's what Rails uses by default. Definitely when you want to deploy your application, you want to go ahead and use a different type of web server like Apache or Tomcat or something more robust. But for the sake of this demonstration, we'll just use the default WebBrick. In order to start up the application, you just go and type Rails server, and as you can see, this is where you would go to access your application's web page, port 3000. So we'll go ahead and try that this way. Great, and it looks like we have our default application. So now we have installed Ruby on Rails on an Ubuntu server. Just to give you an idea of who currently uses Ruby on Rails, there are some pretty well-known sites out there that currently use it. Basecamp is actually the original program that Ruby on Rails came from. Basecamp is a project management type system. There's another website, you guys may or may not be familiar with it, is Twitter. I guess it's a place where you just post comments about your personal life and everybody in the world gets to see it. But you guys can check that out. Another pretty big website that uses the Ruby on Rails framework is Groupon. I think that's a site where you just get coupons and stuff. But yeah, Ruby on Rails is a very popular language. Using Ruby on Rails, you can develop web applications really quickly because it is a framework, and frameworks basically is a set of codes and methods that have already been developed that you can just reuse so that you don't have to spend your time to write them yourself. You can just use what's already there, or you can even create new ones. So that's it for the Ruby on Rails installation tutorial on Ubuntu. Thanks.